Hello and welcome to Up Front with me, Patrick Christie's. You all know the score by now. It's the show that gets your favourite sports stars trapped in a room and then basically refuses to ask them too much about sport. And today we're joined by an absolute titan, a man-mountain of an individual who's represented his country at the highest level. He went on a British and Irish Lions tour and he also represented his country at the 1995 Rugby World Cup. It's Ian Hunter. How the heck are you?
Good seeing you, Patrick.
Yes. So, okay, first and foremost, give me your ultimate career highlight.
God blimey. I suppose it has to be being picked for the Lions. So back in the day, we didn't get things through social media or contacted beforehand. So it had to be the old-fashioned CFAX. So yeah,
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew the announcement was coming out. Someone had mentioned that I should watch it, and I might have an opportunity to get on the tour. And yeah, I put the old TV on and waited for it to flick around to the next number to come back up until the rugby came on, and yeah, so I got picked.
What was your reaction?
Just elation, really.
Yeah.
I think for every player when they start out in their career, they dream of not just representing their own country, but also the pinnacle of the career is to go on a Lions tour. And so to hear, well, not to hear it, but to see your name on the team, on the squad sheet was just amazing.
And I'm just keen to get your take on the current England boss, Eddie Jones. He seems like a slightly divisive character, but he's done all right so far.
I think so. I mean, I think it's an unenviable job. It's a job that everyone wants, but it's a tough one because there's a huge amount of expectation with England, both from fans alike, through to the media, plus also from ex-players. You know, everyone in England wants England to do well, and everyone else in the rest of the British Isles doesn't want them to do well. So there's always one on there. You know, he had a great start to his careers. I think it was 18 wins on the bounce for it. But times have been pretty hard, and certainly over the last Six Nations, both the Six Nations, in fact, it's come up with some real problems with it. So fingers crossed, really, for the World Cup.
Absolutely. All right, well, look, that's the sports stuff out of the way. Okay. Extinction
Rebellion. It's like going on Mastermind this, except without your well-known subject being taken away from you.
Yeah, I mean, you're the mastermind in that side of things. But I want to know, what pisses you off the most?
Do you know what? I'm quite a laid-back person.
You do
really.
seem like you're quite chilled.
There's very few things that really annoy me. I have to say, what has been annoying me, certainly over the last couple of years, is Brexit.
Okay.
So that for me has just become a real frustration. And I think the frustration really, certainly on the political side of it, is I suppose listening to both sides of the argument. And just watching the breakdown of it, really. So I've been quite appalled from both Leavers as well as Remainers on it, and I think if anything positive can come out of it, I think the general public have taken far more interest in it, and I think for me, it's certainly shown up the political class or the people who are out there who are supposed to be representing us is. I've certainly questioned whether they're actually doing that. So that for me has been, something that's really annoyed me.
Yeah, just talk to me a bit about that, because I can't work out whether or not politicians have got worse or whether they've just lost the plot or what's going on, really.
Do you know what? I don't actually think that it's necessarily they've got worse. I just think we're taking more notice of them. Right. I think Brexit has come at the forefront of conversation. You know, I've had the same conversations at dinner parties as well at Sunday lunch. I've went away on holiday with my wife's parents and my wife's sister and brother and husband, and we've had heated debates both sides of it. So I think that's what's happened. I think we're just far more politically aware. So I don't necessarily think they're worse or any better.
Have you had a favourite ever politician of all time?
I mean, I suppose it's easy to jump back into the ones in the past, isn't it? And pull out people like Churchill or anything. But as I said, I don't know enough about that to do that. Paddy Ashdown, I would say, certainly a great sort of character.
Because the thing with him is, he knew how to kill you at any given moment. And I kind of respect that in a politician.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, without driving in, and I'm sure people will say that I might be wrong on this, but he seemed like a man with integrity, and I think that's an important part and parcel. I don't know whether there's much integrity in politics at the moment, and I do know, certainly, as far as Paddy Ashdown went, I think he's the kind of guy who would stand up for a democratic process. So regardless. So Paddy Ashton, yeah.
Absolutely. What do you make of the Extinction Rebellion lot that have been grinding London to a halt for a little while?
Well, luckily I don't live in London, so and I also don't commute down here. But obviously I've been watching on TV. I get the whole part of what that stands for, but I just don't agree with the way it's been gone about doing it. I mean, I think, was it back in April, they brought London again, was it Trafalgar Square or something like that, to a halt. I think they parked a massive pink boat or something like that in the middle of it. I think there's a huge amount of understanding for climate change and what they're standing for. But I think you're going to have an adverse effect if you then start climbing in trains on the tube station, stopping people from getting to work and causing problems like that. Things can quite quickly turn on you. So whilst I understand the political slant and what's behind it, and actually agree with a lot of the stuff as well, I just think the way they're going about it probably isn't the best way.
Now, I know I'm going to adhere to the rule, what happens on tour stays on tour.
Okay.
All right, it's that omerta, isn't it?
Up.
Absolutely. But I'm quite keen to get your take on a couple of your teammates that you might have played with. Was there anyone who was just off the wall, a real character, someone who stands out to you as going, gosh, that person was just different?
I think I was quite lucky in many aspects, I think, of my career, because when I consider I started playing senior rugby at Northampton in 1989, so many, many years ago. And so my career sort of spanned over over a decade, and it branched both the amateur era as well as the professional era. So I kind of saw both sides of it. And when I first got involved in England, which was back in the early 90s, my career started as many of the old guard were starting to finish there. And people like Gareth Chilcock and Mickey Skinner and Mike Teague, and some real classic names. If you know your rugby, you'll know who those characters are. And so, there was certainly some characters around there. I mean, definitely what goes on tour stays on tour.
You're making me a little bit scared.
I'm feeling nervous
you've
myself.
You've got that look in your eye, the bloke who's just got out of here now.
I'm thinking there's loads of people, but I do remember that the very first tour that I went on was to Fiji and Australia.
Wow. And
I remember the first time we arrived in Australia, we flew to Sydney and we stayed in the Manly Pacific, lovely hotel. And we happened to be staying there when the Australian Rugby League team were staying there as well. So it was full of rugby players. All very macho, very alpha males strutting around. And they read the room list out. And I got roomed with Rory Underwood.
Right.
So obviously, the first tour I'd ever been on, so I just didn't know what to expect. So I went upstairs. Rory had already got into the room. He'd chosen the bed. His suitcase was open. All his stuff was out. He had a picture of his wife on the sideboard. Wow. Everything was lovely. And I just thought, maybe it's England. Things are a bit more serious on England tours. And I just didn't think anything of it. We'd get back in from training. Rory'd lights would be off about 9 o'clock. He'd read his book for a bit. That's it. Good night, Ian. And that was it. The next person I roomed with was Mickey Skinner, and I suddenly realised that actually Rory was just on his own, let's say that, in the way that he was. And in fact, actually, the first game that I played for England was over in Fiji, and I remember I went to bed early just because obviously I was going to play for my country the next day, to be woken up from a deep sleep about 2 a.m. by Mickey Skinner, who then dragged me downstairs out of the bed in my boxer shorts and made me down a pint at the bar. So things obviously have changed now. I'd like to think, obviously, I'd like to think, that, and if the guys are playing in the World Cup at the moment, I'm pretty certain the night before a game they're not going to be dragged down to have to do that. But
we've seen recently in rugby that the rules have changed when it comes to tackling.
Yeah.
And I know we get this a lot in football where people go, the game's gone soft. Has the game gone soft, or was it just so out of control?
I think it was. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it was out of control. I don't believe rugby's gone soft at all. When I played, rugby was slower. People weren't as fit. The game wasn't as dynamic. So the speed at which collisions were happening probably wasn't like that. I think when I look back and look at clips of games, you almost cringe, and you're just thinking how on earth people didn't get seriously injured. I'm sure people did get seriously injured, but luckily most of the bigger players around me didn't. And as I said, I don't think it's gone soft. I just think it's important now to make sure that the rules protect people, because it is so much faster and so much more dynamic, you know, the power and pace of these individuals. And you want people to have a full career. You have a duty of care as a club and as a country to make sure that they're looked after. And it can sometimes be frustrating because it seems that the laws are changing very quickly all the time, so players are constantly having to reassess how they've played for a long time. You know, these guys don't just turn up for England. They've been playing rugby, or whether it's Australia or any sides that they're playing, you know, they started at a young age, so they've learnt a particular way of doing it, and then all of a sudden, you know, the tackle situation is an example, having to tackle at a height under sort of shoulders around this sort of level, you know, it's something they've got to work on, you know, whereas before when you go into a tackle situation, you tend to find your head goes down, so you're not really spotting someone into that. You could probably get away with it now. All it takes is someone to slip and fall forward, or to lean into you if they're a smaller player with larger players around that. And as you've seen in the World Cup, numerous red cards can happen. They're not reckless tackles, most of them aren't reckless, but they're just going into contact. It's you know, there's no intent into it, but it's unfortunately it's against the rules in the game, and it's led to players being sent off.
Do you wish that there was maybe less scrutiny on not just sports stars but celebrities in general, high-profile people in general? Because as far as I'm concerned, it just seems to just create a bunch of very boring people who are afraid to do or say anything.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a difficult now. I think with social media has probably got a lot to say within that. I think it seems that content is absorbed so readily and so quickly. People can form opinions very, very quickly. And you know, a momentum behind something can happen very, very quickly as well. If someone is deemed to have said something wrong or to be, you know, next thing you know, it's on social media, and you've got, you know, 100,000 people
defend yourself.
climbing
People
into
have
it.
decided, right? You've
Absolutely.
done that. And
a lot of the time, it's only a segment of information that people are absorbing. They don't understand the context within what things are done. Yeah, and you're probably right. I think the characters, that sort of character part, has almost been lost because everyone has to think before they say something. I'm not suggesting you don't. You know, you have to be mindful of people. It's about having respect for someone in the way that you talk. But sometimes it can be very difficult to be, you know, to joke around, and especially to be natural with it. But a lot of that depends on the company that you're keeping and the people that you're with. You know. So.
Right, it's time for something a little bit different.
So,
We're going to do
you said we weren't going to talk about rugby. I feel like we've
actually have to, yeah, but it's because you're just so engrossing about it. And I thought, you know what, why not? Let's give it a go.
I'm okay with
something a little bit different for this show. But let's have a bit of a quick fire round.
Okay.
All right, okay? So, you Man Mountain, what are you scared of?
Spiders.
Same. They are
Just
little creatures
heinous
of death.
things. Do you know what? I'm not so bad with them small, but it's when they get to that little size that I just think absolutely no. And they appear in the room, and I just don't like it. They're in the bath. I don't really want to pick them up. I don't want to kill them as well because I don't.
Same.
It's
I
not
refuse
right.
to kill it.
Absolutely. And then when they get to those massive size, so my daughter has tree frogs in her room.
Okay.
So we've got this aquarium. It's not called an aquarium. It's something for frogs anyway.
Yeah.
And so we have to keep going to the reptile centre to go and get food for it. And whenever we're in there, the food is right near where all the spiders are, and they're not like little house spiders. They're like massive, sort of, just like furry, and you can see their eyes.
You don't put your foot down. It's your house.
Well, it's not. It's a reptile centre.
Right.
I can't go in there. So get rid of your spiders. For that, so.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Do you know what? Anything that comes on, to be honest, I just if I'm on there, I always try and go through and find something that I like. Like I'm a massive Foo Fighters fan, so I'll get on there. But half the time, there's nothing like that in there. Things like Frank Sinatra and all the oldie stuff. So.
Have you got a decent voice? I'm not going to ask you to sing.
No, thank God. No, it goes up to a certain tonal level and then stops.
Right, okay.
So as long as it's really deep, I'm okay.
All right. What reality TV show would you go on if you absolutely had to?
I'd go on every single one of them, and not because of any sort of fame or thing like that. I just would think it would be a laugh on there. Love Island, I probably wouldn't do. I don't think so. No, I'd go on Love Island purely so I could smuggle some explosive in and blow the whole thing up. Because I do, honestly, it does my head in. I'm in a studio. It's and we came down today. I was talking with your team outside here about it, and I work in an advertising agency, and I'm definitely the oldest in the advertising agency in my room that I'm in. So everyone's like in their early 20s, and literally Love Island's on, and it is just solid conversation. There are people sitting there typing away like they're doing the stuff, and then looking down at the mobile phones at feeds coming in all the time about it, and it's just the constant thing. And I'm just sitting there, and I can feel myself sort of getting irate.
I think you get
about it.
thicker thinking about it. I think that's the thing. I honestly think one day it's going to be a scientific study that's gone, actually, we've all become thick because we keep watching things like Love Island. But anyway, 3 guests, dead or alive, at a dinner party.
Do you know what? Whenever if I'm going out, I want to have fun.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna. I think I would have to people who make me laugh. Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
Sean Locke. I feel like I'm getting the whole set of 9 or 10 cats. Rachel Riley should come along as well.
Yeah.
She can hold the cards up. So I don't know on there. Shall I be more thoughtful and think of someone?
No, that's absolutely perfect. Sounds like a good night.
No, I think I'm okay with that. That'll be good. I think I can see the wine flowing, and that'll be fun.
Lastly, if you could outlaw one thing, what would it
Love
be?
Island, probably.
Apart from Love Island,
Okay.
you've done that.
What really?
David Gower went for pedestrians.
Okay.
So that set the tone.
That's it. I could sit there and say people on bikes, couldn't I? But
Yeah.
I do cycle, but so I'm okay. I don't know what I would outlaw. Can I come back to that?
Come back to that. I'll tell you what, I'll
Yeah,
give you a
let me have a
different
think.
last one.
Go
I'll
on
give you a
then.
different last
Go on
one.
then.
Who is your all-time hero? God. Don't say the Mirror.
I'm going to go back to when I first started sport, and I really admired at the time. So obviously this is setting my age on that.
Go for it.
Daley Thompson.
Daley Thompson.
Absolutely my boyhood hero when I grew up. So it wasn't a rugby player, because I actually didn't start playing rugby until later on in my career. I loved athletics. I was never fast enough to be, to see that as my sport, to go forward with it. But Daley Thompson was my absolute hero. I remember watching the Los Angeles Olympics and I always remember the 1500. I think it was the last lap where he was coming around. He'd broken the world record and taken gold on that. And he was definitely my boyhood hero.
An absolute pleasure, my man. Thank you
Always good.
very,
Good to see
very
you, Patrick.
much. Right, make sure you tune in to the next episode of Up Front with me, Patrick Christie's. And I think you should comment below if you agree with Ian on Love Island as well. I'll see you then.